Let's talk about what actually happened in Leicester over the weekend, the chaos and conflict between the Hindus and the Muslims. Right, it's been a couple of days, of course, because of the funeral and me taking a break. We are a couple of days late to this news stories, but actually, this is the follow up of what actually happened over the weekend on Saturday and even up to Sunday night in Leicester, in a British city. You had a religious conflict between the Hindus and Muslims, and in reality, it was a tribal battle. Started with over a cricket match. That's never the actual reason, of course, but we now discovered that half of those arrested over these clashes in Leicester were from outside the county. So they were not even from there. So these tribal battles and all these gangs is not just in their existing ghettos and all these areas. They're now spreading around the country, and this is very, very concerning. When you have these situations, when you had the actual mayor of Leicester coming out to say, well, I don't think anyone saw the confrontation as a likely outcome, and the police had been given reassurance things were calming down a lot. I mean, I don't think that's the case, but okay, we saw what happened. This was warned to us by a number of people throughout history. Let's not get too radical because out of context conversations, statements, and speeches have always been made. When you look at the 60s, when you look at the 70s, even when you look back, people like Enoch Powell warning us about if we don't control the mass migration, if you don't actually make sure people integrate, things turn out to be ugly. That was the case. Even David Cameron, of all people, David Cameron back in 2011 made a very important speech against multiculturalism, saying that, well, multiracialism is not multiculturalism. It's a massive difference. We have to make sure people integrate to avoid this. This is not a good look for this country. There's nothing British about this. These people who refuse and fail to integrate, and their parents and their grandparents, these kids could be third generation. They could be second generations, but a lot of them are also first generation. All these young, healthy men who come into the UK, and then essentially they focus on their own tribal issues. They don't integrate with the rest of society. And guess what happens? Well, there is a problem. There's an economic impact. There's a cultural impact. There's societal issues going around. The country, as we know it, is no longer safe. The country, as we know it, is no longer going with the basic values of Britishness in certain aspects of the country. Not everywhere. We have places that are still British. It's nothing to do with skin color before lefties completely kick off. It's about values. Values matter. Cultures matter. Some cultures are superior, some cultures are inferior. Nothing to do with skin color. There are sometimes when we talk about the correlation between geography and history of certain lands and nations. Yes, absolutely. But it does matter that certain cultures' basic Western set of values are universal and superior, whether you like it or not. Individual liberty, fairness, justice, family values, community values, democracy, free market. These values do matter. People having a voice. It does matter. Do not turn Britain into another Middle East. It doesn't help. Who's brave enough to say right now, in the political establishment, in the mainstream media, who's brave enough right now to say it? Not many people. People are still attacking anybody who, throughout history, tried to bring up these alarm bells. And we're going to continue on this channel to call it out. We're going to continue to fight back against this absolute radicalism that's going on around the country. It's nothing to do with national security. It's much worse than that. It's so subtle. It's so soft power. The country's culture changing. And we have to be scared, but also optimistic because we are going to get together. We are going to fight together for Britain and the rest of our culture. Now, okay, we're going to come back in half an hour. We're going to tell you another issue with the culture battles. This time in Brighton. The left eating itself. Subscribe to the channel. I'm Tousi and we are the media.